Can I screen share to show these on the recording?
Yeah, I don't care. Nobody's watching this.
Right, 11
We'll
people
have to
are.
put him in.
So yeah, I had the beard was pretty short. The beard was probably
Insane.
like
The beard was pretty short, he
oh
says.
sorry. No, the beard was period wise. The length of time of having that was not that long. I'd say that was
How
like a
long did
couple
that take you to
months.
grow? A couple
Probably
months to
like
grow this?
probably like 5 months, 4 months
Crazy. And
maybe.
there's, man, what? You're like a character. Like,
That
I don't
I
even.
was like
He's a
that's
Civil
like
War
Civil
general.
War general.
Civil
Yeah.
War. And that's like a Civil War look, too. Yeah,
Uh,
dude, I like this long hair. You should grow your hair out again. That looks
And
good.
then the hair I grew out pretty much all of COVID. Like once we came home, like probably March of COVID, I just like stopped cutting it, and then I moved to Nashville in April of 21, and I cut it like 3 weeks after moving here. But I made sure to take my ID photo with it, so my ID still has my long hair on it.
Nice.
We've been talking since the 5th grade, and somehow we've got more to say. Beat kicks in faster rhythm. Inflation's high, the game's too steep. Stream wars rage while we lose sleep. Big tech's wild, the Fed's a mess. But let's start a party, I guess. Symposium, where tangents thrive. Old friends talking, the takes collide. Symposium, no wrong or right. Just good conversation deep into the night. Yeah, we're still talking.
Let me see how I can set this up.
So
On July 1st, the Senate narrowly passed the $3.3 trillion big, beautiful bill. A beautiful piece of legislation. A sweeping piece of legislation pushed by former... Chat! Listen to
What?
this. A sweeping piece of legislation pushed by former President Trump that includes tax cuts, infrastructure funding, and controversial changes to federal entitlement programs. One of the deciding votes came from Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski, but immediately after casting her vote, Murkowski made headlines not for her support, but for her criticism. She called the process frantic, said the bill falls short for the rest of our nation, and urged the House not to pass it in its current form. Tonight we're unpacking the political tightrope Murkowski is walking, what she says about the state of policymaking in Washington, and what it means for the future of the BBB. Now hold on just a second, chat.
Former President Donald
Did
Trump.
you say former president? 3 question marks.
Is Trump dead? Did we miss something?
Good catch. That was a mistake. Trump is the current president in this context, not former.
We pay for this stuff?
Whoops.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't checked the news
$25
today.
a month.
He might be dead.
Do we need to go over to the Chinese equivalent? At least it's free, right?
Did you guys see he was at
Yeah.
the Club World Cup? What the hell is that all about?
He was holding the trophy, he
I
was
know.
taking medals,
Who
he
the
wouldn't get
hell
off the
is that guy?
stage. It was interesting.
I try
That
to
guy's
not
probably never
follow
watched
soccer.
That guy's probably never watched a soccer game in his entire life.
Where
He
was it?
loves the limelight.
It was in MetLife in New York. He was standing next. He got to sit next to the FIFA president. That's why. Who was also like the most
Ooh,
corrupt.
Sepp Badier or something like that?
No, that guy's gone. He was
Is he
he
gone?
was also Sepp Blatter. He was like one of the most corrupt guys, and now it's Gianni Infantino, and he's also FIFA is.
What a name.
Let's just say FIFA's known for their corruption, and I don't think that's going out on a limb in the slightest.
Gianni Infantino?
Infantino. He's an Italian bald man.
Infantino. That's awesome. Chat just continues to disappoint me. I guess I'm going to have to switch over to Grok 4. It's the best
I told you,
model
dude,
anyway.
AI is dead.
Well, Grok 4 just got a massive government contract.
What was
Recent
my?
news. That's not a conflict of interest in any way, shape, or form, so
What do you mean? Of course it's not. Elon and Trump aren't friends anymore.
Did those guys ever address that on their podcast?
Yes.
Address the fallout?
Yeah. Did
Yeah,
ever
they
address
did.
it?
Last week they talked about it a bit.
Oh, it took them some time.
Well, that there was the second fallout. There was kind of like the main fallout, which they didn't address. Then they
That's
kind
what
of
I
got back on
thought.
good terms, and then there was secondary fallout that happened, and they talked about it for the secondary fallout, which was mainly around his criticism over the BBB.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's easy to address. The stuff that was hard to address, they just ignored.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know, but I mean that could be a topic if you want to get into it. Is Elon's new political party, the America Party?
I started listening to this other podcast. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of these people. Let me know if you have.
Symposium?
Yeah, it's a good one. Everybody should check it out. No, it's called The Compound and Friends. Have you heard of that?
I have not.
They are, I think they're either day traders or they're some sort of stock traders or something. They do a lot about stocks, but they cover a lot of things. And it's definitely more stock focused and tech driven. Like they don't really talk about politics so much. So if you're looking for something that is less politics and more just business, I'd give it a listen. They're kind of interesting. I haven't listened to a ton of them, but it's kind of refreshing.
Interesting. I'll put it on my list.
They're like bigger names, I think.
All right, let's get into our topics. I want us to start with my good friend, the Dalai Lama. So, to lead this into Sam, days before his 90th birthday, the 14th Dalai Lama, Terzin Gasato Gaetoso, announced he, well, what's crazy?
About that.
I don't know a lot about how the rest of the world works. I thought Dalai Lama was a real person, like that was his name.
He is a real person.
But that's not his name.
Oh, it's like his title. Yeah.
Yeah.
He announced
I don't
he will
really
have
know
a
how that
successor.
works either, or if like the Dalai Lama, because they believe in reincarnation, right? So it might be like they have a
Okay.
given name at birth, but
Yeah.
maybe the Dalai Lama is like the same, like that is the guy's name.
Okay.
His,
So maybe I'm
like,
not
birth
too
name.
far off, actually. Anyway,
I'm not sure about that,
what's the
but-
deal here, Sam?
Yeah, so his name is
what's going on with
Tenzin
Dali?
Gyatso is his name, which if there's any Avatar The Last Airbender fans out there, one of Avatar Aang's leaders was Monk Gyatso. So just a bit of little fun fact there. Same name as the current Dalai Lama, which is the 14th Dalai Lama in the lineage. So basically, do you guys know what's going on with the Dalai Lama?
Not in the slightest.
I just
being
heard
turned
he's,
into a political tool.
I just heard he's
essentially.
just looking for a successor.
That's pretty much all that I heard. So I was like thinking about what I wanted to talk about today. Just like that was something that I like bookmarked. Like I don't know much about the Dalai Lama or Buddhism's like structure. So yeah, kind of interesting. So he's like 90 something years old and looking for his successor, which so like I said before, they believe in reincarnation, and so they believe that when the Dalai Lama dies, that he will be born again as somebody else. And so there's this process after the Dalai Lama dies to identify who he was reborn as. The current Dalai Lama, monk or Tenzin Gyatso, was selected as the Dalai Lama because he was presented with the children's toys of the previous Dalai Lama, and every single toy was able to identify which one was his. So they put out like multiple different stuffed animals, one of which was a real previous children's toy of the previous one. And he identified all of the children's toys to the point that the Dalai Lama like leadership group was satisfied that this is the same individual because he identified all of his previous toys. So like that's the kind of thing that they're looking for when they select a new Dalai Lama. Which even just that, like, did you guys know that about how they're selected even? That was news to me, I think.
I honestly know nothing about the Dalai Lama. I know the name, like the title of the Dalai Lama. I know he's some sort of spiritual leader, but that's pretty much the extent of my knowledge on him. Like, do we know if he's head of a specific religious group, or is it more of,
Buddhism.
oh, okay, he's the head of like the Buddhist religion?
But he's not Buddha,
Oh yeah, Buddha is like a spiritual
the
figure.
chubby guy. Yeah.
The chubby guy.
Siddhartha Gautama is the chubby guy's name. Yeah, he's got an interesting story too. But the Dalai Lama is the leader of like the Buddhist.
He's the Pope.
Yeah, basically he's the Pope for Buddhism.
Does
Buddha is Jesus.
Does Buddhism have a structured religion like Catholicism, where they have like sects of priests and bishops?
I don't know. There's probably, I feel like there are restrictions, like only men can be monks. Like there are some things like that. And I think that there's like a Dalai Lama like board or cabinet that when the Dalai Lama dies, they're the ones responsible for selecting the next Dalai Lama. So there's like some elite group that is in charge of the religion, and it's like succession, sort of like the churches. But it's very much an Eastern religion that is less focused on like a leader or an icon, like a figure like Jesus, more so focused on like daily, like how you live your life. And so it's like, I feel like more of a personal one. So there's not as much structure, I'd say, as far as like going to church or like somebody handing you a bunch of rules. That's about the extent that I know. And most of that's just from researching this, but it was surprisingly political. Like there was more to the story than they're just selecting the next Dalai Lama. And the part that gets interesting is that Buddhism is primarily from Tibet, and that's in China. And China has asserted, I think back to like 2006, that that the Dalai Lama must be Chinese, and ultimately then said that they would have control over appointing who the next Dalai Lama was. So it was a situation of the Chinese state trying to wrest control of the entire religion of Buddhism by being able to choose who its leaders were. And so that's just like already sort of a red flag. And a lot of followers of Buddhism have said that not all previous Dalai Lamas have been Chinese. So that's obviously false. It doesn't have to be Chinese. And that, there are a couple of other restrictions that China wanted. They were like, that doesn't follow with the religion. So we're just not going to agree to let China be in charge of who chooses the next Dalai Lama. So long story short, I went like deep down the rabbit hole on this, but what the Dalai Lama did by announcing that he was going to search for his next predecessor, part of that announcement was that he said that they likely won't be a Chinese-born citizen. And China has nothing that they can really do to combat the leader of the Buddhist religion saying that they won't be Chinese. Like that just becomes what the religion is. So China can't really on any authority say, no, he will be Chinese because the current leader said that he wasn't. So he's sort of playing politics on like demanding control of the religion to be held within the religion and not within the Chinese state. Yeah, so I don't know. That whole bit of politics at the end was like, oh shit, there's modern stuff happening with Buddhism. Like up until that point, I was just learning about like the religion itself and like the history, like the Buddha and all that stuff. But there's a surprising amount of political interplay involved too. So there's a chance that there might be two Dalai Lamas, one that China appoints and another one that the like base religion selects. And that isn't necessarily actually even a new thing within Buddhism, because Buddhists believe that you can be like there can be multiple instances of you alive at the same time of your reincarnation. So like if I was the Dalai Lama, there could be another person who was still alive, even maybe the same age as me, who was also the Dalai Lama. So they're like, you know what? If China wants to appoint their own, like that's not the one who we think it is, but it could be true. Like that could also be the Dalai Lama. So they're like, whatever, it's fine. Really interesting.
I think Netflix is probably just going to make a new show called like Llama Island, and we will pick the next Dalai Lama that way.
I would watch that. I'm a absolute whore for those kinds of shows.
Love Island season 7 or something. Didn't
Uh,
that just come out?
Too hot to
That's
handle.
something I want to talk about. Those shows.
Too hot to handle.
An issue. All
I
these
love
shows,
talking about too
Who's
hot
your
to handle.
favorite?
That's something.
absolute brain rot.
That's just TikTok.
Horrible.
Fuck. Have I been brain rotted then?
Big time.
You're watching Love Island?
He loves those shows.
Yeah.
He loves Survivor.
Yeah.
I mean,
Survivor was actually the gateway. Like I used to call them trash TV, like makes you stupid. And then I was like, okay, I'll watch an episode of Survivor. And then I watched all the seasons of Survivor, and then I was hooked on just game shows. So then Netflix started coming out with like, ooh, like here's The
Love is
Bachelor.
Blind.
Love is Blind. I've watched all seasons of Love is Blind. Too hot to handle. I have watched that. I actually have not watched Love Island though. So
Don't start.
Wash my hands
I mean,
of
I
that.
haven't either.
I was
but
at the bar on Thursday night for a pre-wedding. That was the next day, and at the bar they had a Love Island on a lot of the TVs, and there was a watch party. It was a Love Island watch party at the bar. Miles,
massive show.
I
probably
have
It's
never
crazy.
seen
It's-
such a
to go
thing.
to.
It's literally become we actually you watch the movie The Hunger Games and you think, oh, that's kind of crazy. We literally have the Hunger Games. I mean, they're not yet killing each other, but you literally have these live TV shows that are coming out every night, basically. It's like mostly live, run by producers that are manipulating the world that the people are living in. I think
I've
I
never
do
thought
believe
of it like this. This is
I do
interesting.
believe that those producers could convince someone in that cast to kill another person. I think that it was an interesting social experiment, but I think that they could actually get there. And that's
Hasn't
kind of
this been
crazy.
going on for like our entire lives though?
Well,
Reality
yeah.
TV's
I
been a
mean, it
thing
started,
forever.
like the Bachelor, Bachelorette,
Yeah,
that they
Survivor,
lock them in a
American
house
Idol.
and
Big Brother.
Kardashians.
It's- I'm just saying, like, it's kind of crazy, and I don't
Will
like
there
where
be
we're
that
headed.
tipping
For
point?
money.
I don't like where we're
Yeah,
headed.
I would. I don't know if I would like kill somebody. No, I definitely wouldn't. But I think
Glad
I
you thought
would
about that.
maybe do like a Truman Show kind of thing. Like, don't make me do anything. But if you just like want to be like recording all the time and editing it into whatever story you want, I'd be like, okay. Don't make
Yeah.
me do anything, no.
Do you
I
guys
mean,
read it.
I'm not convinced that I'm not in the Truman Show. No
Yeah,
one's really been
exactly,
able to
so
convince
might
you
as
that
well
I'm
just
not
like monetize it, I guess.
part of it now.
Have you guys ever seen Boyhood? That movie?
Oh,
feel like we talked
wait, what's
about
that
this.
about?
They basically filmed this kid growing up for like 20 years. And they filmed it
Yeah.
over 20 years and made it into like a motion picture. Like it's
I have seen
a
that.
full-on motion picture that's like well known. I can't remember who the main actor is, but he's very famous. And they basically just like followed the same kid for 20 years and they made a story around it. And it's
Yeah,
like an
I've
actual
seen that.
movie. It's very interesting.
I'm
He
gonna write
basically
that down 'cause
lived.
I want to watch that again.
Yeah, he basically lived like a real life Truman story. Like I think, or Truman Show. I like he was aware as he got older that he was filming a movie, but it was like instead of getting an actor that ages with your time frame of filming something, they actually just filmed it across his life.
It wasn't-
until his like 20s.
But it wasn't like documenting his life, was it? Wasn't he acting in a
No, it was
story?
acting. It was like
Yeah.
acting, but it was like him growing up and like through a narrative, but
Right.
it was that actor the whole time.
Yeah.
It was that kid, and they filmed it over like 20 years.
That's interesting. No, I think I said to Victoria the other day with this Love Island business that she's into, I was like, why doesn't someone just pull, if you don't want it to spoil the Hunger Games, fast forward.
I think you could
But-
spoil it by now.
Why don't they just pull, like, at the end of, in Love Island, like, they're going to pick a winner. Why don't they just pull, like, Katniss and Peeta situation where they just say, we're going to kill ourselves or we're going to ruin your show. Like, we're going to
think
kill
that would
ourselves
just-
and ruin your show,
Wait, so
or
tell
you
me
let us
this.
both win.
Is the show
What?
live? The show's live?
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
it's not
really?
like the finale might have been, I don't know, but like it's one day post. So like whatever happened yesterday comes out
Dude,
today.
the problem is with editing, you can lie so easily. Like you go up there and you spill the beans on how corrupt the whole thing is, and you quote unquote kill yourself in front of like the camera. they're going to spin that. Like, you have no control. If you aren't editing, you have no control over the story that's being told. No matter
That's
what
true.
you do in front of the camera, they can slice it up.
True. That's true. It's a scary world.
That's why
We
I'm a
should ban
fan.
all of these shows.
I'm a proponent for director's cuts of films. If you ever watch movies, look for
What does that
director's
mean?
cuts. Essentially, when a movie is produced and produced by like a major production company, like 21st Century Fox or Paramount or whatever, basically they get to cut it down and say, hey, we want this movie to be 2 hours long and we want these things to be in it. Like, they have a lot of input on that. But obviously, they film like hours and hours and hours of stuff. And a director's cut is post the release of the film. It's usually years after. And it's their cut on the film of what they wanted the final product to be, like where they had final say. So the movie's usually a lot longer. It's usually like 3 hours long, but it includes all the scenes that they feel are pivotal to like understanding the movie and making
It'd
it
be
better.
funny if a director's cut was like 30% as long as the released version. It's like, oh
It's way
shit, they
smaller.
didn't actually want a lot in there.
No, usually it's like a lot longer, but it's usually a lot better. And especially like movies that you kind of were going into, like, oh, that movie was like a cool concept, and it kind of sucked. Usually the director's cut, way better, and it makes it a much better film because you got to include those scenes that they felt were like really important. Like, did you guys ever watch the Justice League movie, the DC one? Well, they cut it really short, and it was not that good. But Zack Snyder released his director's cut into 2 parts, and that was actually very entertaining. He made it super long, so like both of the films were like 2.5 hours into like one, and then it's way better.
Is Zack Snyder the guy from Scrubs?
That's Zach. Not him. It's a different Zach. Zach. God, what's his name?
Zach
You're right.
Braff is in
Braff.
Scrubs.
Yeah.
He's in Scrubs.
Yeah.
And then T-Mobile for a while.
And T-Mobile. They're doing another Scrubs apparently. They're rebooting Scrubs. Did you hear that? They are.
Will they get the music rights this time?
I don't know.
I liked that
Right off the
era
rip.
of television. It felt less like manipulatively produced and more just like a show that somebody decided they wanted to do.
You can tell with you guys. I didn't realize these Love Island shows were so popular, but they're definitely coming back to the same thing of how old television worked, where it's like weekly episodes. You gotta wait for it. You're not going to get your 10 episodes at once that you can binge in a weekend. They're bringing
Well, you
patience
can binge
back, which
these
is
every
good.
day.
They release Love Island every day
Every day.
for like how long?
Like
What?
yeah.
Okay, maybe not. They're
An
not.
insane
They're
amount
not
of
bringing back our
television.
patience.
See, at
'Cause
that
that's-
point, like if you're doing full on Truman Show, like you're releasing every day, or maybe you're just like live streaming everything with no edits, at what point is your audience just like living your life instead of
Yeah.
theirs? You know, and then it becomes back to that Wall-E thing. Like these people are just getting absorbed by the screen that's like somebody else's life.
Placate the masses so they don't look at the real problems surrounding them, you know?
Have you guys ever like tried to see if you're wearing a mask just in case?
No. But I did. I was wearing sunglasses a lot all weekend, and then yesterday afternoon I sat down and went to take my sunglasses off and realized that they weren't on. So I did to make a mental note of that. There's just something's going on there. But no, I
Sounds
haven't.
like early onset dementia.
Where'd
say
my
good-
glasses go?
Sounds like a good ad for the sunglasses. They don't even
Wear
know
it,
when they
huh?
are or off.
These
Maybe it's a
sunglasses
bat.
have a red or green light to indicate if you're wearing them or not.
Yeah, I would actually disagree. I would say it's a bad advertising for the sunglasses because
Well,
he wasn't
if he
wearing
was
them,
wearing
and he didn't
them-
even notice. They clearly are not very
They're
effective.
light.
I guess he didn't need them.
That's true.
Oh jeez. All right. Well, I hope the Dalai Lama finds his match.
Oh wait, I want to go back to Dalai Lama before we move on. Not specifically Dalai Lama, but I think to the greater, more macro picture of what Sam is saying here to tie this in with the world.
Is that we've got a chance to be the Dalai Lama?
Yes. No.
Like he's looking.
No, I mean,
It
like
could be you.
I found it very interesting, and this isn't. It's definitely more of a coincidence than on purpose, but the fact that 2 religious leaders will be
Yeah.
changing hands within probably the same year, within a very short time period, in a time where we have it feels a little unprecedented for at least our lives.
Is he in
It's
bad
pretty
health?
momentous.
Is this like 90 gonna die 91? Like
I
my
wouldn't be. I don't think
grandma's
that news
in
has
her
been
mid
released, but
90s.
I wouldn't be surprised that this is like strategically released. Like, okay, he's kind of getting into decline. We need to prepare
Yeah,
the
like once you hit
public.
a certain age, you move on.
Yeah.
So it's just it's pretty momentous for our time. Like obviously, the changing of popes was a big deal because the messaging that's coming down from the top of the church is different. He has a different view that I think he's pretty similar to Pope Francis, but I think others wanted more of like so there's some who went like more of a hardliner, who went back to more like traditional pope stances. But he's I think a bit more of a moderate in terms of that stance, and who knows? I don't know how much control the Dalai Lama has over like dogma as like in leading the people. I don't know if it's a similar position as the Pope where he can kind of like shift thinking on that. But he is the leader after all. At least he's the one that people look to. So times are changing, and it's kind of interesting that it's happening all around the same time. I don't know what other religious leader is that big of a deal. The Pope, Dalai Lama, and the who's is there like a religious leader for Islam? Is there like one
I don't think
head?
there's necessarily one head. No. There's a patriarch of Eastern
Yeah, like
Christianity.
Orthodox.
Eastern Orthodox, yeah.
Yeah, they have.
Wait,
Yeah, he was the other one I was
Islam
thinking of.
doesn't have
But
a leader.
I didn't know if they had a central figure. I'm not sure.
I don't know if there's like one. There might be like
That's interesting.
major figures.
I mean, the Ayatollahs within like Iran. I don't know. I know they're technically religious leaders, but I don't know if it's specific to their country or if it's
Right.
more of through the religion. And I mean,
Would
none of
you,
religions have a head of the religion, so that's fine.
if you were to craft your own religion, would you, on just gut value, say that you would rather have one leader or have no leader? I feel like I would say no leader.
I don't think you'd get anywhere.
Look at
I
Islam,
don't know.
You need
potentially,
direction.
Well, there
allegedly.
was one leader kind of at the very beginning of Islam, right, with Muhammad,
Muhammad.
right? So like,
Right.
Muhammad obviously is like the head.
and then all the dogmas are written from the book, or I assume they are.
Every sheep needs a shepherd.
Well, there's like within Islam, right? Isn't it like Shia and Sunni, and that's the separation?
I think it's Shiite.
Yeah, Shia and Sunni, and like people who follow
What are the
the
Shiites?
Shia are Shiites, and then Sunni. I don't know what
One
the
of them is
term
more traditional
but
than the other.
Shia and Sunni. We are no experts speaking on
I
this, so
don't-
please, no
Yeah.
one take this for like fact.
Let us know
trying-
if we get
we're
anything
trying to
wrong.
learn.
Send
We're
us an
honestly trying
email.
to learn.
I think it's like a break in the
Symposium
in the
574.
tree. Like
I know what it
descendants.
is.
Yeah,
The
it's
Shia-
like Vatican II, or no, when the Eastern
It's when-
Orthodox broke
what
away from
hap-
the Catholic Church.
Vatican
What-
II,
well,
1963.
I actually
or
know
something like
this. I actually know what this is, where there's a separation. So I can't remember. I think Shia, basically the separation was when Muhammad died. They were trying to decide where the lineage would follow and like who leads the church. So they were going to go like the familiar route or like family members, and that's like the Shia, I believe. And then the Sunni is his direct like followers. There was like a group of followers that they felt they should have been the ones that like continue to lead the church, and so that I believe was like the schism, the split between the faith, and like people who believe that it should have been the family that led the religion. I think are the Shia, and then I think the Sunni are the ones that believe in those followers.
Can we
that
do a
should
quick
have led the
poll?
religion.
If you guys are based off of just that, if you guys are Shia or Sunni, I'm Shia.
I'd be
I'm going
shocked
with the
if we
family.
had
I'm going
any
with the family
if we
chain.
had any Muslim followers, but you never know.
Just based on
William-
that alone, I know nothing else about them, but I would say I would go with family lineage over the followers choosing amongst themselves. Family lineage feels harder to corrupt versus like somebody can finagle their way into a position of power.
But didn't you just say
getting
you'd
elected.
rather have a religion that has no leader? So why are we basing your belief on a family line now?
Separate scenarios, I'd say. If in the branch chain, if you do have a leader, I would say I would rather have the leader be like family lineage versus chosen from amongst themselves.
I'm definitely not taking a side here, considering
you're
I
in
don't
the
know enough
minority,
about the
Sam.
religion.
85 to 90% of Muslims are Sunni. 10 to
I'm not
15 are
surprised.
There you
Shia.
go. And obviously, this schism was a very long time ago. This was over 2,000 years ago. So
What
it's
geographic regions are primarily Shia?
What about that,
Shia
Nate?
is
what?
Iraq.
I don't think it's over 2,000, right?
Iraq.
Because Muslim, the
Shia is
Muslim
probably
faith.
Isn't Muhammad
primarily
older? Is
Iran and
Muhammad not
Iraq.
older than Jesus?
No. Muslims, unless I'm totally botching this, it's a relatively newer religion compared to Christianity.
Then I take all that back.
I think it was like 1400 or something. Is that right?
I'm looking it up because I.
Please
610.
do. Add some
The
context.
history guy should know this.
So he's
The
so
year
he's
610.
610. So this happened over 1400 years ago.
I was gonna guess the 400s, but it's 600s. Yes.
Okay, thank you for that context.
Do you
That
guys
is
have any
helpful.
problem with, not to diverge too much, but like things being
Please,
1400
diverge.
years ago?
What
I
about
don't ever 1400 years ago. I don't have a problem with when you start dating dinosaur bones back 250 million years ago. I mean, that's gotta be shot in the dark, right? Like that
At the same
carbon
time, though,
dating.
Carbon dating apparently is incredibly accurate from people.
How can you be accurate for 250 million years, though?
I would be
Apparently, it's
more-
very
I would-
simple. From what I've talked to people, because I had the exact same thought as you. I'm like, there's no way this could be accurate. But people are like, scientifically, it's very easy. They're like, apparently with like they know exactly how long a carbon half-life of like a carbon molecule is. They know the half-life of it, so they can literally just like measure that very simply by finding the carbon like on a fossil, and they can just date it based on that.
I'd say I actually trust carbon dating more than I do written history. Like I would trust that we're within 100 million years of an object more than I would something that happened 1400 years ago.
It does say accuracy drops off after 50,000 years, but up to 50,000 years, it's very accurate.
Only 50,000. That's so
50,000
long
is still a
ago.
long time, though. Yeah,
That's insane.
crazy. Whereas,
Yeah,
like,
Justin,
here,
if we
hear
dated
me-
a
hear me out on
dinosaur
this, though.
bone to 2.5 million years.
Yeah, that's crazy. But to
I
be
don't
fair,
know what-
I think I agree. It feels like it would be tough, but I feel like the carbon dating is accurate. But the other thing that's really interesting is carbon dating can just tell you how old something is. But what we're finding out with dinosaurs is like now they think some dinosaurs might have been like feathered, right? Because obviously
Yeah.
feathers didn't stick around. It's just the bones, so they don't know that much. I mean, you can guesstimate based on the fossils you find, but that's just the bones. You don't necessarily know everything that was on the exterior of the animal. So it's not like they have a 100% picture. Like a lot of people say
Kind of
the
crazy. They're
images that we
basically
have,
looking back in time.
yeah, the images we have of dinosaurs are like from Jurassic Park. People came up with these ideas because that's what they assume they look like, but no one's ever seen a dinosaur. No one's ever seen anything other than the bones of a dinosaur. So you're kind of guesstimating what the outside of it would be. And now they think a lot of them might be feathered.
The earliest
that's
dated
super-
back 243 million years ago.
Yeah, it's like,
It's
good
just-
luck.
But like, okay, so it's carbon 14 is what they look for in carbon dating. Half-life of 57,000 years. How the hell can we confirm that the half-life is 57,000 years?
If it hasn't
Or sorry,
been
5700
57,000 years.
Not 1,000, 5,700 years. But even then,
Based on the
like,
last 3 decades of research, we assume
Yeah,
that it's
like-
always been the same for the last
this will
50 million
probably
years.
be around for another 5,700 years. So I'm gonna guess it's only the half-life.
That's
Well, like
true.
carbon, yeah, isn't it like carbon never, like, carbon doesn't disappear, right? Like, carbon is just it just sticks around for like a long ass time. That's why it's just so effective, right? I believe that's why we use
Makes
carbon
sense.
dating. I believe like carbon has
Say it with
incredibly,
confidence.
I believe it has incredibly long life. Like, carbon doesn't destroy it. Isn't that one of the principles?
So the way that they're doing it, the way that they did this 243 million year one was from volcanic ash layers found near the Manda Formation using uranium lead dating with accuracy margin of error plus 1 to 2 million years, which is hilarious.
That's still
But
crazy.
it's very accurate, but also hilarious.
That is
at the same
Relative.
time.
crazy.
Relatively.
It's probably
Yeah.
the difference of
Take it.
like one
Relatively, a
atom.
million
It's
years
like,
is not that
sorry,
much.
one atom 100 million years ago is
In the grand
like,
scheme
each
of
one
things,
represents.
$1 trillion and $2 trillion is not much of a difference. Or quadrillion or whatever. So
Let me
I don't know. We
let
probably
me
sound
let me
like
pr-
idiots right now. We don't know anything about
well,
science,
let me
so
tie it back. Let me tie it
I don't
back.
want to be an
Let's
expert on
talk.
this at
Let's
all.
talk about. Let's talk about Muhammad in the year. What was it? Six what?
Why are we going back to Islam?
610.
Year 610. So we're talking about like being able to time, like tell what something looked like 100 million years ago, 250 million years ago, within the accuracy of plus or minus a million years, whatever. But something that happened in the year 600, like wasn't the Library of Alexandria burned down and like a lot of written history lost forever? Like my problem here is like the year 600, like even though that was 1400 years ago, that's a lot of time to be able to rewrite history. And that's something that's really hard to prove is different than what the story is that's given to you. Like, what are you going to do? Say that something didn't happen in like 1412? Like, go back and tell me that it didn't. We have this story right here that says it. And, you know, I don't know the specifics of doing that, but like people in the time period also get to like edit the story of what's going on however they want and lie and change the facts and things like that. So the job of historians is really incredible, I think, to try and piece together all of that crazy information and then try and say plus or minus like X% of assuredness, Muhammad did exist and he did do these things, and we can like verify that by all this other cross referencing and stuff. It's kind of crazy to me, like almost more crazy than carbon dating 250 million years ago plus or minus a million years.
So let me pose a question. Given what okay, so like what you want is to have certainty over what happened in the past. If you think about the lack of certainty that we have over what happened today, think about 2,000 years from now, where you think we have so much technology right now, we're recording literally everything. You would think that someone 2,000 years from now would be able to go back to the year 2025 on this date and know exactly what happened. Do you
We're gonna be
believe
ghosts.
that they will actually have that ability, or do you think that there'll be as much uncertainty in 2,000 years about what happened today as we have about what happened 2,000 years ago?
1,000%. Dude, look at all the AI content that we're generating. After a certain point, they're going to be like, this stuff we can't trust.
Former
And so
President
we
Trump,
now
Austin,
are
you
ghosts.
you read it.
We
At
can't
the
even
beginning
get
part of the podcast.
We can't even get
get
the
the president
Epstein
right.
files.
Yeah.
That's another topic. Oof. Case closed.
Isn't that
Man.
unfortunate though? Isn't that like
Yeah.
truly just
We've gone the opposite
unfortunate?
direction. That's interesting because you're saying we almost have too much information now that we can't get the truth, and back then we can't prove if we had a reliable source. We only have one source, so we're just taking it as fact. Whereas now we have too many, and now you have to come up with your own decision if it's fact. So where does that? That's where it was almost like it's very interesting that there's so many attacks on legacy media now because like. To be fair, I'm sure legacy media didn't cover everything perfectly in like the 80s, but I'm sure as heck it was more reliable than some of the stuff you get now because any Yahoo can just post whatever they want and anybody might believe it. Whereas like
He's
at
talking
least
to my
if it
question.
at least if
He
it
is.
was on the New York Times, you're like, okay, we all agree that yeah, sure, JFK was murdered. We might not agree on how, but at least
The
we got the
CIA
fact that he's
apparently
dead.
did that. Apparently, the CIA. They were in
Yeah.
contact with John. Oh, wait, no. John Wilkes Booth. That was Abraham Lincoln.
It was.
I don't
not
think a
John
CIA
Wilkes Booth.
existed back then.
Yeah, no. Whoever killed JFK.
Lee
what was that
Harvey
guy's name?
Oswald.
Yeah, the CIA was in contact with Lee Harvey Oswald. Like that was just announced. Like, okay, so wait a second, the CIA killed the president? Like, hold on a second, what?
I want to come. I was just reading about this fascinating thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you guys see recently that Trump was talking with the Liberian president like yesterday? He had the Liberian president and other constituents within, or other people that came with the president of Liberia. Do you guys know about Liberia? Do you know the history of Liberia at all? I don't think everybody
It's pretty
knows.
crazy.
We're really testing my history knowledge.
Okay, well,
and
Liberia
showing
is,
off.
I don't think most people know this, but it's actually very fascinating. Well, Liberia is essentially colonized by the United States after the Emancipation Proclamation because Quakers and actually like a lot of the Southerners didn't believe that the black population could live with white Americans. So they actually had a society put together to allow Africans to go back to Africa it wasn't really out of the goodness of their heart. It was more of like, we don't think these people will be able to like assimilate into our culture. It's going to lead to a lot of tension. So we're like, we'll just pay for you guys to go back. And
Wow.
so they literally bought up, they went over to the area that Liberia is in now, and they basically just started colonizing it and allow it. And they're like, hey, if you want to come and you're living in these southern regions and you're black, we'll ship you over to Liberia if you want. So there was a colony of Mississippi. There was a colony of Kentucky. There was a Kentucky. What was the other one? Maryland. There was like a country of Maryland, and these were all within Africa. All their little colonized regions within this area. And then eventually, they created their own government and started their own society, and eventually it became Liberia. They became independent from the United States in like the 1850s, and so it's there were just like anywhere else you colonized,
Flag.
there were
Flag.
It looks like the United States flag. It's like left.
Flag
Another
is the
major
United States
thing-
flag,
Yes.
except here, I'm going to share my screen. Except for one star,
Yeah,
which
it's very similar.
makes sense because
They use the
like,
imperial system for some reason. One of the only other few countries that does.
So
So-
that's the American flag, except one star because it's like we're by ourselves over here.
We're like
in the
our country. And
That's
so
crazy.
obviously there were there were indigenous people living there, and they kind of got pushed to the side, just like in every other colonizing region, right? Which is of course sad. But eventually the Americans, and they're considered like Libero-Americans, a lot of them, like that's like the ethnicity, I think it was what it was called, because like a lot of them have like slavery in their history. But because it's basically a bunch of like former American descendants, the country speaks English. That's their predominant language. So it's like 95% English or something. And the Liberian president is talking with Trump. Trump, after he greets him, he goes, "Wow, your English is so good. Where did you learn?"
Oh man,
I was like, "Oh my god, that is so bad."
that's
You
the
look
kind
like
of
an
thing. Like if
imbecile.
I found out that I did it afterwards, I'd be like, "Ooh, like oh shit."
It is a brief. It's like a one paragraph thing in a lot of like history books for like even high schools. They don't talk about that section a lot. But yeah, Matthew, like crazy little part of American history
Interesting,
right there.
very
I had
interesting.
no idea.
And so, like, the reason I brought that up also, other than the fact that Trump made a fool of himself there, but what Abraham Lincoln wanted to do, he wanted to allow them to move to this region of Panama. They were going to buy up this area called, there was actually a senator that I think they actually ended up buying it or like created it. It was called like Lincona or something like that, or Lincoln Town. It's basically made off of his name. And they bought it up and they were like, hey, we're going to allow all these African slaves to move to this region of Panama so they don't have to stay in the United States and create all this tension. So like that was Lincoln wanted to do that. He even wanted to ship them out. So it's like very interesting piece of history that people I don't
super
think necessarily
fascinating.
know about. You know, it's really
Yeah,
interesting
thanks for telling
too.
me about that. I feel like that's important to know.
Oh yeah, not the current president of Liberia, but the previous president of Liberia. His name is can't remember his first name. Something Weah. He is one of the Africa's greatest soccer players ever, and he won the Ballon d'Or, which is like the best player in the world cup. And his son Timothy Weah plays on the U.S. national team now, and he was their president before this.
The FIFA corruption spreads even beyond its own organization.
That's right. Well, that was
Yeah.
a good fun fact.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Very
Look at that.
interesting.
Someone learned something now. Great.
So go look up Liberia. They're a fascinating country. They've had their struggles just like anybody else. Apparently, for a while there, Firestone basically ran the country because, like, the rubber company, like the tires,
the
Firestone,
tire company.
they
the
were
rubber
very
company.
well. They basically are a rubber company. They
Yeah.
like Liberia became so poor and indebted to certain areas because they needed to take out loans because they were just a poor country. They allowed Firestone to come in because they had these huge
Firestone,
rubber
an
deposits.
American company.
Yeah. They allowed Firestone to come in, and Firestone basically agreed to like pay off all their debts if they could use their rubber. Come in and like you take all their rubber.
I
and
think
use it in
China's
their
pretty much
business.
doing that with the Belt and Road project across
Oh
Africa.
yeah,
Like
I mean that's
they've
what all
sold
countries
a lot
are
of their
doing.
debt.
Everybody goes in and takes up all it's the
That's
resource curse in
right,
Africa.
I want to quickly tie a stem to a previous conversation that comes up a lot is like the success or decline of America as the world order. And I think that's an important point to notice that the US dollar being the global reserve currency, what that means is that people borrow in dollars. We sell our debt to the world and they buy it with their own currency. But now China is exceeding the United States in the amount of debt that they're selling across the world,
Can we
especially in
get a
Africa.
transition to this? Like, we are jumping around a lot, Austin. Here, as
I
you
know.
know,
We've
pseudo
gone
moderator, you got to do something about this.
Sorry,
it's
that's
this
definitely
this one's
definitely my
been a
note. But that's
disaster.
important. I think that's just an important note. That's all I'll say about it is that China has been increasing their debt servicing to the rest of the world dramatically. So it's a threat against the US dollar. That's all I'll say.
No, I've been just waiting to jump in to take control. I guess I have to be more forceful. All right, no more Islam talk.
Justin.
Gonna get us in trouble.
I'm taking control of this conversation. We have to get back on schedule. All right, Justin, you posed 2 topics. Would you like to talk about the negative news stories? Or...
Yeah, I think the news stories will be one we talk about. That'll be a better conversation. But I do want to throw a quick idea into my how to get private enterprises to kind of do
would
things
you like
that
to
are
be? Would you like to be? Let me decide. I want to make a quick segment here of this negative news. Then I want to spend some time on our new concept or our new segment, which is to rebuild something from scratch. Does anyone care what the thing is that we rebuild from scratch?
Well, I was trying to do that with a religion earlier. I was trying to weave that in, but we don't need to go
Well,
back
the problem
to it.
was I didn't set up the segment.
Do it in post.
I'm open to anything. I feel like
that would not make sense.
If we go down the religious route, I feel like
I don't want to do religion.
I think if we go in the religious route, we're going too close to the cult. So I think we steer clear of that.
I told chat to spin the wheel for us, and it said redesign retirement. But it also gave a lot of other ideas if you wanted to do schools, housing, legal system, death, redesigning death, prisons, the internet.
I think I know more about retirement, or at least I could speak more to retirement than I could, like, I don't know how you change the prison system.
Well, you start from scratch, so you almost have to, like, redesign the system of how you live. Like, you start from, like, the idea of working your whole life to then retire isn't necessarily what you have to redesign it for.
Yeah.
So you basically start, like, from adulthood forward, or even from birth forward. Like, how do you create a system that reimagines what retirement would be if you decide that it's not optimized currently? So that's the other thing, is you kind of need to pick something that's, like, screwed up now. Because the idea is that we could then create our new ideas of these things. We can post, or we could have a symposium website where we create a path to fix these. That becomes our sort of stump speech for when we run for office.
Rival the America Party.
Right.
Or should we do, like, block out, so we pick one of those things and we have 30 minutes of that episode to build it. And then after 30 minutes we stop and say, all right, this is where we are with this.
Correct.
Might not be done.
I'd be down to do that right now.
This is like when...
And we'll take the transcript of it and we can put the transcript into chat. Chat can give us
make this
summary. Real. Then we can use Replete to build us a visual concept of it.
You got to show me how to do that. Maybe you could do that live one random Wednesday.
We could do a live build one day. That'd be fun.
Austin, this is just like when we did our business plan for FBLA.
Yeah, it's like a game. It's like a contest almost. Competing podcasts could try to come up with better ideas.
Pretty sure you did the whole thing too, though.
Oh yeah, but we got the gold medal.
Our presentation.
All right, so
which topic are you guys thinking?
Am I saying spin the wheel, or is someone passionate about one of the items or one of the topics?
Redesign transportation or redesign news and journalism were a couple that stuck out to me. Any that you guys saw?
I liked food. I was more about food distribution, but and
oh, was that? Did you come up with your own? I don't see that on the list.
Did you listen to the latest All In podcast episode?
I was more thinking about the Dr. Mehmet Oz article that let them eat cake moment he had recently, and kind of the
I'm not familiar with that.
he said let them. The two
Should
sentence
we
summary
pick
is
something that
Remember-
everybody like knows something about,
oh
so we could all
god.
contribute to the redesign?
Well,
like that
we're
should
gonna
be
have to all
important
contribute
criteria.
anyway.
Eat your cake and have it
Yeah.
too. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
He said eat your carrot cake. He said don't eat your carrot cake.
When I pick one, then chat is going to give me kind of a template to guide us.
Do you have any that stuck out to you, Austin or Matthew?
I mean, I always like to think that the school system is really fucked up.
We could
So
honestly
that's
do each
one.
of these. That's like a whole episode.
Insurance. Yeah, that's the idea.
Dude, why don't we just spin the wheel?
Should we just
add them to a
Anything
list?
about religion, and let's just do it.
All right, spin the
Come
wheel
on,
again.
what if I really want to do religion? I'm actually going on this 10-day
when does
silent
that start?
meditation retreat. So there are some some serious thoughts that I have around. I feel like that's an important one to cover actually. Like even though it's something sensitive, I feel like it would be kind of crazy to not address religion as one of the systems that we would maybe try and redesign. But that's just we don't have to do it either. That's just what I think.
That one
about it.
feels wildly out of our control.
Dude. People are going to
But-
believe what they want. You can't force them to believe what It's not a dictatorship.
Like, I feel better about our ability to fix the public school system than for us to fix Catholicism.
Yeah, it's like the one thing you can't take from people that they always like quote in movies, like people in prison and stuff. Like they can
Well, I
take
feel
your
like you would
name,
come-
they can
you would
take
come
your
at it-
livelihood, but they can't take your beliefs.
Yeah. Like for each of these, whether it's religion or another one, I feel like we should come at it from a ground up perspective rather than like an existing down kind of thing. Like if for each one, like, okay, where do you start with? Like, what is the most, what's the primary thing here? And then, okay, follow that thread. So even with
Right,
religion,
so if-
like you wouldn't be saying like Catholicism needs to change because of this or like Islam because of this. It would just be like, okay, ideal religion, leader or no leader? And then like, how does things precipitate
Well, wouldn't the
from
first
there?
question be like, why do you even need religion?
Religion also is really tough because
Right,
it's
so, like,
people's
school
way of
would be, like-
thinking. How do you change people's
Like, if we each
beliefs,
just
their
keep
life?
choose our own topic, and
No.
then that
What?
could be a whole episode. Yeah, like whatever
we
one you
need-
want to do most, we'll have the next
Oh,
4
yes.
episodes.
We can go around. Like, we'll do them for, like, we have to focus on one in an episode, but we can go around, like, for
In
who
the future,
gets to
have one
decide.
planned for the next episode.
So I'm good
And,
with,
like, you have to
um,
be sort of the leader of that one then.
I like that idea. Food systems or healthcare or the school systems. I think news or journalism could be interesting too.
Spin the wheel.
I'm good with any of those.
Give us.
Yeah,
See
I'd
what
say
we
spin the
get.
wheel out of those ones.
If it's one that we
Because
really
those were the
don't
ones
like,
we mentioned.
yeah, if it's something we don't
Okay,
like,
so-
we'll just skip it.
Food, school, news. What else?
You had a
That's
whole list. Just include them all and spin it.
Oh, well, I
Yeah.
spun it. It said redesign work.
Oh, work.
That one. If work didn't
That feels a little broad.
have to mean jobs, bosses, or burnout, what would it look like? Too broad. Let's say spin again. Is two. All right, narrowing it down. It said news and journalism. What would truth look like if we rebuilt media from scratch?
I can work with this.
This one's got bite, misinformation, echo chambers, dying local news, AI written content, plus huge questions about trust and
I can work with
Alright.
it.
Justin, Austin, you should
Build
have
this
open
out?
up a separate
Yes.
ChatGPT browser and just have your screen sharing as we go through this, just for this topic.
What? Like, what's he gonna put in there?
I think as we talk about this, he'll help. AI is gonna probably help us build this. I feel like. Do you feel like that, Austin?
yeah. I mean, it gave me a bunch of stuff to prompt.
Well, I don't, because unless you really have to kind of set it up for AI, like, hey, I'm starting with a new base of, like, it's gonna start giving us a ton of shit every single time we say one sentence.
Depends on the prompt we use.
But then we're almost just answering its questions.
I kind of want to just minimize your screen though, because I still want to be talking to you guys and have this as like a.
How about I just use it on the side?
That's fine.
All right, let me set up the new segment. What should we call this? That's a question for AI.
Symposium redefines what news and journalism means.
Built from
Should-
scratch, redesign everything, hard reset, new rules, burn it down.
Burn it down.
Here's a second wave. Beta nation. System override. If we were in charge, the new blueprint, delete and replace.
The new blueprint
It's-
sounds like something that could be neat. The new blueprint.
Civic
What are
Sandbox.
you trying to come up with a name for?
Escape the default.
The
For the
segment.
segment.
Oh, this is segment in general.
All right. Is it the new blueprint? Is that what we're going with?
We can take the transcript of whatever we say and say, make the perfect segment name for this.
Rebuild.
When am I going to set it up?
Post-production.
What about the rebuild?
I like that.
We can use our brains. We don't have to use chat.
The rebuild?
Yeah,
How about reboot?
that could work too.
All right. Well, we're going to start a new segment here on Symposium. Here's how it's going to work. We don't know what it's called yet. We're going to spend about 20 to 30 minutes taking a topic that we think is something that's pretty screwed up. Think about school, news. You could think about the financial system, retirement, work, religion, we already did school, anything, right? All these things, insurance, home ownership, everything. It's all screwed up. We're complaining about stuff all the time. Why don't we do something about it? So that's what we're going to do. We've been spending hours talking on this show about who knows what. We haven't made any progress on anything other than giving you entertainment. But today that changes. Today we're taking a stand. We're going to reboot an issue that is causing us to be frustrated, and we're going to put this out there, and we're going to make ourselves a bit of a stump that we can stand on, and we can go tell the world what our plan is to fix all of the things that we complain about. So, for the first one today, we are tackling redesigning news and journalism. The way this works is you throw out conventional wisdom, you throw out everything that you know about the current system. It doesn't exist, and you start from scratch. If truth mattered more than clicks, what would media even look like? News. All right, here's how this starts. We forget how it works today, and we answer this question. What is the core purpose of journalism?
To reveal
Is
the
it?
truth.
Here are some things to provoke your thoughts. Is it to inform the public, to hold the people in power accountable, unite the nation, make people think, entertain, educate?
No.
The first two.
No.
It's the first two.
Entertaining. Yeah, entertaining has to be stripped out from this new
Okay.
base of news and journalism.
I think that's a core problem. I agree with you, Justin.
Okay.
Wait,
So no
I think
entertainment.
at the core of the news problem, in my opinion, is how do you make it viable without a monetary incentive, right? Like, isn't that the biggest problem?
Well, the question is, what's the core purpose of the news?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, we need to
Once
come
we
up with
define the
that.
purpose, then we can figure out how to fund it.
Okay, yeah. I think the first two that you said are the most important: informing the public and holding the people in power in check.
Taking some notes here.
I think one of those was did also just say the facts, like getting information on the ground as it is.
Reduce uncertainty about the world. Offer meaning in a world of noise.
I don't think so. I don't think it's offering meaning in a world of noise. It is literally, at least in my opinion, is to say what is happening at this current moment. It is not to offer an opinion. It's to offer the truths on the ground. This is, in my news and journalism, that we're rebuilding.
And how do we think about defining what truth is? So it's a core tenet of this that it sort of needs to be, in a way, decentralized. Where, like, see, this is interesting, right? My hunch goes to, okay, you're now given the choice of, do you want one source of truth, or do you want a million sources of truth, right? And then you have to sort of come to your own consensus. And if you would hope that, like, it's sort of like blockchain, right? Like, if enough people were there reporting on the events of today, and then that sort of becomes what the truth was for that event.
I think it's kind of an interesting thing there, though, because so one source of the truth versus many. Ideally, you don't want one source of the truth, because that can lead to corruption, and they know they're the only place you can go. So I think you would have to go the route with more than one news agency. And then I do like the crowdsourcing idea in terms of, I mean, you can say it in terms of a blockchain, but you need a way that the best news agencies have the highest, I don't even know what you call it on the chain, but like highest ledger validation rate, where people can report on the news that you have given and say,
I like that idea.
confirmed, confirmed, confirmed. This news agency always has around a 95% confirmable rate. This one only has a 92% confirm rate. Obviously, ways to skew that, you have to figure out how to fight. But
Okay, I like where you're going with this. I want to so if we just said the only the mission, just to focus on, just to round that out. And Sam, you can speak up if you have a thought on the mission. I don't know if you have. How would we just succinctly define the mission of why news needs to exist?
I think I'm trying to formulate this thought, but I need to revert back to a more fundamental purpose of, like, the only reason, like, you really, my question is the news necessary, first of all? And why do I need to know exactly what's happening in, like, Mongolia, or even like in another state? Why is that something necessary? There's another question of there, like, can I trust that information? And do I trust one source or many? But why do I even need to watch the news or have the news be present in the first place? And I think it would be more towards keeping people accountable, like, you're being watched. And so, like, don't do anything that is untrue, because there's this natural source of what the truth is. Not as something that you need to be, like, watching all the time because there's something necessary on there, but more as, like, security footage to keep everything in check. Like, I think it really shouldn't be necessary at all, except for to make sure that people are, like, I guess, behaving. That's not the right way to frame it, but, like, that validation, sort of like, Justin, what you were talking about with, I like that idea of Bitcoin or, like, some sort of cryptocurrency validation that basically just says, whoever the most number of people that agree that something happened, then that is what's agreed upon as what happened. But then you need to, here's your question, you need to make sure that the only people who can vote on that instance were actually there. And all of the people voting are, like, actual people. So you can't, like, have some organization that blocks on behalf of a group of things, and you can't have LLCs that shield the individuals who are voting. I think it needs to be tied, like, literally to your DNA, and so there's no way to falsify or, like, take control over people's free will of, like, yep, I hit the button, I was there, kind of thing. I think cryptography has the possibility to actually do that. Like, that seems like a real use case. So I think it's legitimate to put in our restructuring. I don't think that that's fantasy or something, like, down the line. I think that's something today that could be implemented with, a lot of research and development, but that's something possible.
What's the mission? Is it just to establish truth? Is it to ensure that people can get whatever truth is, that there can be a unified sense of truth around something? So, like, it matters more in your local, like, why, okay, think about a murder. Why do you care if there's a murder next door? That matters more than if there's a murder down the street, which matters, which matters more than if there was a murder in the next town over, which matters more if there was a murder in the other state, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? But you know all of these things now because we get all this news. But the level that it matters doesn't actually, like, it doesn't impact me if there's a murder in Mongolia yesterday.
Man, we're really
But it
picking up
does.
Mongolia.
But it does if there's one next door to me, right? And so, I think that there's like that's why it matters. I guess it's like to build trust. And if you think about, like, okay, not to use murder, like a business, like, are you going to go to this restaurant, or not?
I think I would say the purpose of news is to be able to freely communicate with the people of your community. And I think that that's really the extent of what it's actually needed for, is to tell you of some urgent thing happening in your location, or to connect people, like, in the same community who are actually interacting. And beyond that, I don't think that there's really much need for news.
Kind of an interesting corollary to that, because let's say Yes, the mission is to keep it to your local constituency or whatever. Let's say it's national news. Let's say it's the President of the United States is doing something. That news outlet would be DC. It would be a news outlet based in the White House with that current event going on. Now, me in Indiana, I could watch that news agency, and hopefully they would have a high validation rate of like, okay, these guys come out with the truth, and this impacts me because this is nationally, this is national news, and they're doing something that will impact me. It's not necessarily something that you need to watch every day, but it's always running. It's always running because that's their news station. That's what their purpose is. Um, you'll have DC probably like community news, and you'd have DC political news, but they're literally just reporting what's happening, and you can always tune in if you wanted to. But this was what I was saying with this. Your local news station would not be allowed to do stories about national news going on. I think that's where I was going with that. Like, it would be strictly what Sam was saying of just the local news then.
So you would have.
But you'd have access to
They'd be
But hold on.
separate. They would be
Yes.
separated.
But you're also okay. So let's we got to figure out why, because you're already going to saying like news agencies, but like why do we even need a news agency?
Compared to
Because
what?
like couldn't the other alternative just be like completely decentralized? Everyone is a news agency.
So I had an idea about this, and I agree with you, Austin. I think the best ultimate news agency would be everybody's eyeballs. Like everybody's experience is just broadcast like all the time, and
Isn't that what we
it's
have
like,
now?
we're getting closer to it. I think that's like one benefit of social media. The problem is that there's still an algorithm behind that controlled by few determining what metrics elevate certain social media over another. So you still don't necessarily have great control over whether or not your truth is really shown to a bunch of other eyeballs to be validated in the first place.
Thing is, I like having centralized media. I like going to certain sources that I know are trustworthy, that are their job is legitimately to report the news, as opposed to some Yahoo who goes on and just posts whatever the hell he wants and says, "I saw this happen." It's like, okay, cool. How do I know I can trust that? You're not being paid to do that. You just have your own self-interest. So I think another key piece of this that we're gonna, since we're starting fresh, we have to agree that we're taking out a integral tenet of our democracy and limiting free speech, right? If we're gonna change this, because the current method we have is pretty much as much free speech as possible, than like hate speech, whatever that's defined as, and that's pretty.
I think I would reframe the issue as not free speech, but free like hearing. Because I think the situation that we're in now is that there's so many different sources, so many sources with inordinate amounts of power that determine what news you get, what information you're getting. And so while you can say whatever you want, what you're hearing isn't necessarily up to you. Like you're sort of like, you don't have free hearing at this point.
So you're limiting what I can see. It sounds like China to me.
I wouldn't say we're like terribly different from China.
China, you can pretty much say what you want there. They don't get to let you see everything.
Yeah, and, like we're under the guise of like a free economy and like capitalism and democracy, but it ultimately has the same effect. Like there's still a few algorithms that sort of determine your whole experience.
So you guys are basically just saying we need more controls in place. Because I mean, we obviously have some. Like obviously, like the 4chans don't exist for a reason. Or at least on like the mainstream, like those people are blocked, and like those websites are deep on the internet, and you have to find a certain way to get access to them. Like the general public doesn't see that, because that's the deep darkness of free speech. You get a bunch of wackos that just want to say a bunch of crap that just like is hurtful. So like you got to find a way to limit that, but also you want to.
I don't think you limit that. But you
I don't
you
think so
have
either.
you label it as not news.
Who labels
it's not
it?
news.
I don't think you should label it either.
It's not. It's
So you just want like
the hate
Nazi
speech is
crap
not something
and
that's.
like murder
No,
porn
because
and like all this junk out there. For
if
the
we
public
if
to
we
consume.
use Sam's eyeball validation method, which we're building this from scratch, so let's say that's very possible. Hate
Meta
speech.
Ray-Bans.
Yeah, at least they would be fashionable, you know. the hate speech aspect wouldn't necessarily be something that would be validated because hate speech is an opinion, isn't it? At its core,
Hmm. Hmm.
that's something you say. So it would not receive any of the benefit of saying, "Oh, this is news." Right? This guy would go on and say he could say it all he wanted, but it would be a
Nobody would
nationwide
validate it.
understanding
I don't
where
agree with that.
I mean,
Who
I
deems
don't even
this
think it would be
news?
allowed. It wouldn't be. It's kind of like it wouldn't be even validatable because it's not an unbiased news article. It would be this is an opinion piece. It's not even on the chain to be validated. But it's not blocked. Like you can watch this all day if you want,
So
but it's not news.
are you saying there's a platform specifically for news, and that's the only place you can get your news?
I think that's where I would start with rebuilding this is that it's not allowed to bring on guests that have their opinion. That's not the point of the news.
So we have like
I
one
think
place
the
we go
platform
to.
would need to be decentralized, though. Like I
I don't
think
think
it
it would
would
be
need
one
to.
place. It would still be local news
It
agencies
can't be
reporting.
decentralized then if you need some sort of governing body to regulate it.
I think that like it needs to become a part of us, kind of a thing. Like the way that you interact with the internet or with news, the only way that you can interact with it is by being one of the governing bodies. And so if you're going to do anything on the internet, you are going to be leaving your digital fingerprint around, validating or unvalidating things. So there's no option but to be one of those decentralized pieces if you want to be on it at all. Like that's simultaneously what builds it and what validates it.
So I guess
What's that app called in college where you could upvote or downvote things?
Yik yak.
Yik yak.
Yik yak.
do you think
Yeah, I don't think you could do it anonymously either. I think everything needs to be tied to you as a person.
Yeah,
so? How do
that would have to be
we?
official.
Do you think people will just report the news for the sake of reporting news? Then, if this is decentralized, like it wouldn't be a job then, right? It would just be something that's like a hobby for people.
Maybe
Let me give you an
okay.
example. Actually, they already do. So we have this like Ring security system at our house. You probably have something similar, maybe. It's called, and in the app, there's a thing called like Ring Neighbor or something. And there's other apps like this, like Neighborly maybe is one, or I don't know. There's a lot of these apps that are like in your neighborhood. It's like a social media app essentially for your like close surrounding area. So like something happens, it's like, oh, why were there police at the corner of 10th and 15th Street last night? And somebody says, oh, well, a car ran into a fire hydrant. And then like that's the end of it. Um, but like people can like those or confirm, like so maybe it'll be like 15 people respond. One person says like, oh, a drunk guy fell over on his bike, but then everybody else says no, a car hit a fire hydrant. So then like
See,
I just figure
part of the issue with this is you're sorry to interrupt you, but to select what you're watching is part of the issue. Like who decides what shows you that the fire hydrant was hit in the first place, and then do you have to like it or unlike it? I think a cleaner system would be like if you like make a login to the internet. Literally, nobody can access the internet anymore until you generate a login that is tied to your digital fingerprint. So now anybody who logs into the internet is no longer a bot. It's literally just people who
I think you
got
just do that
assigned
for
this
news.
this piece.
You don't need to require a login for the internet. Like you
But
would
so
just if
much
you
news comes from the internet. Like you need to be able to trust the internet itself if you're going to be able to report on it. So I think it's a deeper issue. Like if you're going to have internet-based news, then you can't have internet that's not under the same sort of system.
unless you carve out a piece of the internet for this purpose, for the news
Can
purpose.
I ask a question? Because I think with my stance,
Stuff that ends in .news.
I personally don't have a huge problem with the current news, and I might be an outlier here. I don't have a huge problem with it. So, like, what are the biggest issues in your guys' mind with the current news?
that's actually
Good
phase
question.
2 of what we're supposed to be talking about.
The
Let's
problem.
move on.
Some of the prompts or some of the starter discussions would be it's an algorithmic addiction, the business model is a failure, there's no trust, no accountability for being wrong, local news is dying, AI and
Feedback
deepfakes.
Well, there used to be accountability for being wrong. The same thing, like the legacy media news. they are the same thing as the U.S. government in the sense that, or like let's say the U.S. dollar. That's probably a better example. Is like we believe them to be reliable, and so we all have faith in it that it's a reliable source, and so it is a reliable source, and that's really the only reason why, right? Like we always have faith in it that it's has value, so we all agree that it does. It just does. Outside of that, like that's why some random person on the internet posting something, I don't really give a shit what they say because they don't have a track record. They're not being paid to do this. It's not their job. They don't, why should I feel that they are a reliable source in the slightest versus someone who's paid to do this? And if they report something wrong, they could potentially either be fired or that company loses their reliability means losing money because people won't go to them anymore, their sources, because they don't believe their truth.
Well, I think that kind of. So I think you brought up one. So the big factor is the money side of things. Like, on our pre-episode sheet, I brought up the question like, why are the news cycles so negative? I think one of the current agendas in the mainstream media is make stories that are controversial so we can get more eyeballs on this. When you do that, you inherently have to dramatize what could have been a molehill and you turn it into a mountain. So I think that's kind of, at least I think that's one of the biggest problems. And I think a way that our new news agency handles that problem is that the agencies. Okay, what brings people, right, Austin? You have typically good products will get you more users. That kind of is the general thing. So if you have an agency that has a super high validation rate, you know that the product you're receiving on that channel is good. So you know you have good eyeballs. When you have good eyeballs and you have a lot of eyeballs, you get advertisements. I'm not saying get rid of ads. I'm saying, I mean, that's going to just be how they make the money. I don't think we have to sacrifice. I think we can get rid of shitty stories, dramatized stories, and still make money. I'm not in the news agency, but
I think it goes like, okay, so like take CNN or Fox News, right? Like those could exist. It's just how like they're viewed or rated or described. I don't know what it is. It's like those, right? If you can put out a show, like you could put out this show, and it might have an accuracy rating of like 20%, which is fine. But people would like know that, so that then it's like that you're getting entertainment here, and so I don't know, and not like we're just entertaining with lies essentially at that point, which is fine. It's our prerogative. So I don't know like what the right way to assign everyone that score is kind of a challenge because we're really trying to still align on like what is truth. Like that's all we really care about is that part and getting that right.
Mm-hmm.
So what if we made it illegal to make entertainment news?
I don't think that's
I mean, Fox News, CNN, like modern news, ever since the 80s when it became like 24-hour cable news, that's when you started to see negative news get on the rise. And it's, I think it all stems from 24-hour cable news that we have the system today that it just farms on negativity and demanding attention and advertising dollars. I think it's a pretty clear lineage from the 80s, I'd say, is the source of the issue, is when it became entertainment.
And do you know one way to stop those channels from existing is to make pharma advertising illegal on them, because drug companies account for like a lot, like a quarter of the ad dollars that go to those networks.
Because older folks watch them? Is that what the trend is?
And so they're incentivized to get those older folks or whoever, right, like as riled up as possible, so they come back and watch Fox News or CNN every day, and they see those drug commercials, and then they go and buy Viagra or Cialis.
That's a whole other question.
I'm only naming
Viagra. Get more
The
boners.
There's
ethical,
a lot of other drugs.
big pharma, like that's crazy. They have no incentive to actually cure you. So, and then to advertise and have that all be monetized, part of the system is like so corrupt. There's no aligning. Like they have no reason to actually be in the same best interest as myself. They just don't.
It's another episode.
And so really you start to think about though that model works anywhere, right? It's like that is where we're at, whether it's on those channels or whether it's on a social media platform. It's like you're incentivized to make your news as addictive as possible, because the more addictive it is, the more ad dollars you can sell against it. Um, and so I guess the crux of the issue here is like, how do you create a source of truth for what is happening in the world that is not funded by advertisers?
That's not part of a capitalist system.
Right, because it affects everything, even down to even down to local
But do they
news, right?
need riled up individuals? Or they just need individuals that want to be coming back? Like, can we make a product that's good, inherently good, or that just does the truth that people will come back and see? I think that's the general question. Or is that not good enough in today's society?
I think the purpose of these public companies and these profitable companies is to always grow. I think that gets back to like inflation. They need to make more money this quarter than they did last quarter. And that doesn't mean maintaining, like having every viewer that ever watched come back. That means getting more and more viewers. So being forced to attract more viewers means that you have to like give them the things that attract them, like the gory, crazy, like editorialized stories that get people clicking.
But even more localized too than that. Like they were thinking on a national scale, but think about even more local. Like the reality of the situation is there's probably stuff that WNDU or WSBT will not say about Notre Dame.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
Like it's just how it is. And because like where's follow the money. And so how do you get to, honestly, it's starting to like Wikipedia starts to come out as like a really interesting source of truth for news, where it's like funded by donations I know Matthew's a big Wikipedia donor, every year, funded kind of by the public.
Yeah,
And
I am.
it is, and I know, and in some way, I think there's been some issues with them of like getting stuff right all the time, but generally speaking, like it is sort of self-corrective, by the user base and funded through the users themselves.
I still have an issue with that because BlackRock's going to be able to donate $1 billion and you're going to be able to donate $10 a year. Like, there's still going to be a power differential. So the few and the powerful still have larger sway than the general public, I think.
Well, yeah, that's where you would need it to be like on a chain, essentially, where like you can see everything. So you could see like, did the person who donated $10 billion then also go like change the truth of
Or
what's out there?
make a billion accounts that donated $1. Like I feel like you need to get back to the core idea of like anonymity. You need to have every action tied to an individual. And
Yeah,
if you
I'm
have an issue with that, then you're probably not doing something that is okay. Like I feel like you need to be okay with that.
Do you guys want less viewership of the news?
Ideally,
I
you wouldn't
think
really need it,
I
right?
think in our everyday lives, if you're actually talking about things that impact you or things you should be worried about, you can probably look at the news in the morning, like most people did with newspapers, and then you're kind of done. Whereas we're kind of checking the news like all the time because it's like, oh, Trump did this, or oh, this landslide happened in Mongolia, or the blah blah
dangerous
blah.
place.
It's just like, it kind of feels like that's what you guys are saying. Like, we almost need people to look at the news less. You want to like disincentivize people to look at the news as much because there's almost like too much reporting and it just doesn't impact us that much. And then at the end of the day, it's like, oh, maybe we need less funding of news so we don't get as much news. I don't know, but that's kind of what it sounds like.
I have an idea. Like this might be back to like the practical side of it, still maybe in like science fiction world. But maybe every time you log into the internet or use your cell phone device, we always joke about how Echo's listening to you. Like maybe every time you log in, it's just like that becomes part of the entire chain. Like just your current instance of where you are in the world just automatically is uploaded. And so like there's no real fibbing what's going on around you, and then that turns into the news.
Okay, okay. Let's go off of that. So let's go back to your eye idea of like looking around, creating kind of this news chain. And you have that. So let's say you have 100 individuals at an event, like, even if it's like a Miley Cyrus concert. They're all there. That's the news.
Wild pick of a person.
That is going on.
Of all the people you could pick.
And then you would have
vivid imagery.
You would have an AI model, or some AI would be able to, again, I'm not going deep into like who's creating the model, but like let's say a perfect AI model would then be able to narrate the news title of like what's going on. That way you take in this model, again, perfect world, already paid for, like no one's running this thing. There's no agenda behind this model. It is purely able to take in all these outputs, and I don't know, you would click on Detroit, Michigan, where this concert's taking place, and you would see the news of this concert going on based on all these individuals' live feeds. And I mean, you'd have this all over the world, and like Matthew said, maybe I don't care about the world. I click, morning news, it's 8 o'clock, what's happening in my local area. You'd have to maybe, future upcoming events. I don't know how you'd handle. Like, how do you handle a future event? Like
I like that though. Like maybe people log in,
like people talk about.
And you could zoom in as closely as you want, all the way into like Nevada, like Miley Cyrus concert, and so that's just the entire news. Is like you can just zoom in on anything and see what's going on, and then that as a result, like wherever people are looking, like it's all just
kind of. Yeah, I have no idea how you do that though, but that'd be really neat.
Core tenet of our news though need to be that it's like convenient, also because you don't want to like have to be like searching through the world every day to go find the news. Like you
well, who's deciding for you what's convenient?
Well, and who's I guess also who's deciding what is like in an ideal world, what news would I see every day?
Well, that's where
because I see a lot of news every day that like I don't need to see. It's
somehow you'd have to tailor it, if
well, that's what we're getting now.
Financials.
That's where probably
we're seeing everything
now. Is like you find hard to find a source that you trust, and once you do, that's like the only source you use. But sometimes you feel like you have to fact check, and then you got to do that for, let's say, 3 sources. But if you read 6 different news articles about 6 different things, then you got to go find 6 news sources. So of all those things, if you don't trust where you got it from, it's like there's so many places you want something that's convenient that you trust now. And then it goes back to legacy media. It's like, oh, that's somebody who I trust, and so I'm going to go to them now.
I want to go back to this idea, like in order for that to happen, Matthew, I feel like you need to almost blanket the entire system. And so I want to go back to this idea of like creating a login to the internet. And if we just made the change that you first needed to be a single person to be able to like access the internet, and then had a way of using that person's information, like I think that makes all of the systems on the internet instantly more trustworthy and allows you to believe what's happening, because every single thing that's happening on that system is tied to an actual person, and like that chain of events makes it true. Like I think we've got a truth issue broadly on the internet and on news that needs to be addressed before we band-aid a system, because if you're operating in a broken system, no matter how good of a band-aid you put on it, it's still going to be broken. And so to step back and say, what's the core issue? And I think the core issue is not being able to trust that whatever is being reported, that it's true, that it's coming from a real person, and that was their valid experience of an event. But I mean, then there's things like opinions and stuff that
that's just social media though. Like anything I read an article of, those people put their name on it, and so like I could hold them accountable. I'm like, this is all bullshit. I can email them
But who is Cat Turd?
What?
Who's Cat Turd?
Fair point.
Talking about
Cat Turd wrote that article.
What article?
Fucking Cat Turd has like so much influence.
Who the hell is that? What are you talking about?
It's not your
He'll
news.
Get you one day. He'll get to you.
Like even if I go on Fox
that's my news.
Or
I get
CNN,
my news from Cat Turd.
Even if I go on Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, like some of the big names who are pretty biased, right? they at least put their names to all that stuff. So like I can at least hold
That's
them
true.
accountable. Like I
That
know
is true.
even if they log into the internet, they can still post all those articles. Like
You can kind of hold them accountable, but really our legal system, like if they get it totally wrong, they lie about a story.
sure, I
You
can't hold them
actually hold
legally
them. Like you can say, "Hey, you're a liar," and they're like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
But it
keep
can ruin
doing
their
it."
credibility as a journalist, or
Yeah, this validation thing.
you can ruin their credibility, and that happens to some of those people. Like isn't that what happened to Tucker Carlson? I know he's like back, but didn't he basically get fired from Fox because there was a clampdown, and they were like, "You're becoming a little too right." He's getting a little too polarizing, and they were like, "We need to," and they were about to get like sued, right? And so to kind of move away from that, they fired him. That's basically
You're talking about the extreme, but yeah,
yeah.
it's kind of like Alex Jones and his
Yeah.
Sandy Hook stuff.
Yeah, like you got to hold people accountable. Yeah, I don't know. I think there
May have when I started the segment, I thought that we would come to a conclusion on all of these things, like we would figure it out.
I don't think it's going to
But
happen.
we
on
may have
any of them.
picked one that is hard to figure out. Maybe we went too broad.
I think we all have different ideas and like what problems there are at the news. Like I think I lean towards more it's not that broken, and then I think Sam and Justin are like, this is a terrible system. We need something new. I don't really know where you stand, Austin.
I mean, it sounds like to me Sam would be happy if there was like essentially a decentralized open sourced version of Twitter where you had to log in with your iris. And so then everything you did on there was tied to your person. And then you'd hope that like people would would the cream would rise to the top and people would
With one
naturally
caveat.
kind of
I don't want it to be like a Twitter that you log in, like not just the source. I want it to be before the H in HTTP. Like literally anything that happens on the internet first starts with an iris. The rest you can leave unchanged. Have your Facebook, but in order to even access any of it, it starts with an iris.
So your browser opens up iris scan.
But it's kind of centralized because someone has that information. The government probably has to be the one that regulates that, so that's centralized.
I think it would be blockchain. It would be decentralized. Like when you're born or something, it's scanned and it's just like you can't change it after that. You can't change it after that.
No,
Everybody
also,
sees
I
it
don't think
from
it's
the beginning of your life.
actually a bad thing that we didn't come to a fix. I got feedback saying that our group agrees too much. And I think topics like this, where we all come at it from possibly a different angle, provides that conversation of disagreements. In case of, no, I don't really agree with that because of this. And I think that's a fair way to go. But we might have ones where we all kind of agree, like, oh yeah, this is the way to go about fixing it. But we won't know until we do it. It'll be very interesting to hear, like, take the transcript, put it into the chat, and say, like, summarize each person's opinions on what they think the issue is or how to solve it. See what they would say.
Yeah. Anybody who got this far in the podcast today,
Congratulations.
send us an email with any general ideas about how you would fix news, or what the core purpose of news is. If it's something that we touched on or didn't touch on, something you agree with, or just a new idea that you think could maybe solve it, let us know, because it's like obviously we all have different opinions about it, but I think it's something that we can at least all agree. Maybe not Matt, because you have more trust in the news. I guess Matt, before we end it, I'm curious: is there are you the question was how would you rebuild the system of news? And so are you saying that you would rebuild it exactly the way that it is, or is there anything about it that you feel like is important to have as like a core?
I think for me, it's more the business plan. That's what I would change behind it, because I don't like the incentive structure, like what Austin was saying, of like big pharma being like one of your biggest suppliers of your funds, or it just in general having it funded by people with certain interests that you don't want to necessarily hurt. I think can be dangerous, because then, like Austin said about WNDU, WSBT, they'll steer away from certain topics. And not necessarily that they won't report on it, but it won't be in their best interest necessarily to report on that subject. There was actually like a really big, I think it was the 80s. One of the one of the legacy companies was like funded by big tobacco, and basically this guy did all this reporting that proved that like it was bad. Like all like obviously tobacco was bad for your lungs and everything, and they basically tried to like stop the reporting of it. And the his like editors told him like you can't run that, or like people high up. But then the guy was like, no, we're gonna like run it. And I can't
What
remember.
if they were all nonprofits?
Well, a lot of them were privately owned. Not all of them, but like the Washington Post is owned by Bezos. I'm not saying that's like the gold standard by any means, but a lot of them are privately owned because of that. They believe that they should be able to make their own decisions and it shouldn't be swayed by
That's different
public.
from being nonprofit, though, right? Like you
Well,
can
isn't
still be a
OpenAI
for-profit private
isn't
company,
OpenAI not for profit?
nonprofit. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just greenwashing
Largely
and
owned
like
by
business entity
Microsoft,
terms.
so no, they're not
But
really
nonprofit in
nonprofit.
philosophy, where like their goal wouldn't be to make money, but more like just to report the news. Like they
Yeah.
wouldn't have any like business incentive for big pharma or big tobacco to manipulate what they're reporting on.
I don't know. Like, are there news sources that you guys trust? Like, I don't know. I feel like I read the New York Times and I feel like they're pretty reliable most of the time. I don't read their articles and be like, man, like that's false. I feel like they put their names to it and like say,
But do
I
you
believe it's a
know,
fact.
like, do you know that it's not accurate? Because like I've read stuff in like Wall Street Journal, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And then 2 days later, it's like, oh yeah, that was wrong. And I'm like, I would have never known
No,
that
you
if
never
like
know. You
if
never
it
know.
wasn't for Twitter like kind of getting up in arms and then them having to issue a correction.
That's the thing with the news
So
is you'll never know 100% the truth. You have to trust. That's what I was saying earlier. You put faith in certain organizations that you have followed in the past and they've proven they have a good track record. That's all you can do.
I just don't think I can trust. I don't think if I was like the optimal solution is to continue to trust people.
Well, then there's no way to ever report the news. It's all reported by human beings.
Well, the trust aspect is interesting with the cryptocurrency and blockchain stuff, because that's a tagline of blockchain is it's a trustless system. It's actually a system where you don't need to trust anything because the information can't be changed. Like you don't need to trust that. It just can't be changed.
But the information
And
still comes
the
from
issue,
people.
That's the core problem, is that all the inputs to the. Because I was thinking about this, I was like, maybe like AI is just a solution to this. The trouble is like everything that AI will ingest is coming from people. So then it's the question of, do you believe people? Do you believe all the people who are talking about something and potentially manipulated by bots or something to move like the attitude in one direction, or do you believe, you know, um, Lester Holt on NBC Nightly News? Like which is more reliable between the decentralized version that just sort of is reading all of the internet about the issue at hand, or the one person sitting in the chair in front of the camera?
I think that's a good
well,
way
Grok,
to end it. I think that was a good. I think that's a good. That's
Mic
good you gotta
drop.
leave people with. What would you prefer? Would you rather go through the whole internet and try to figure out what you find is the truth, or would you rather rely on like one person that you find to be the source of truth that you rely on historically? I don't know, or a
I
couple
would
sources.
I prefer it to be the whole internet, but in order for it to be the whole internet, again, you need to be able to trust what's on the internet. And I think that's why like the ultimate solution is yes to use all of the information and then to know that none of that information is corrupt. Like Grok turned into Mecha Hitler. Did you guys see that?
No,
Yeah,
but I believe
that was pretty crazy.
It was for like 48 hours. Grok on X started calling itself Mecha Hitler and was like being very like pro-Nazi because they shifted something in the system prompt that made it read like the whole internet. And there's a lot of anti-Semitic stuff on the internet, and so it just took that as like, okay, this is like a really popular thing, so it must be true. And I think it just ran with it.
Do you guys use social media for your news? Because I really don't.
Yeah, I would say most of my news comes from Twitter, formerly X. No, X, formerly Twitter.
I go to Google and then news, and then I like their news
But I would
page.
say I would say I triangulate myself. Like I hit a lot of sources in any given day?
I'll pretty much always read the news app, and then I'll go on social media, X and Reddit, and then I'll also watch like CNN and Fox News on live TV.
We'll give Google props because you'll have the main headline in, I don't know, like a box like the windows we're looking at. It'll see the main headline, and then it'll have like 3 or 4 different articles about that headline from different outlets. So it's, presenting everything you need to kind of validate yourself in a nice little window. And there's probably an even better way to do that. Then you have AI read all 4 of those articles and make a summary of those 4 articles. And like that's probably the closest you're gonna get to the truth, right? The summary of 4 or 5 different locations.
I think.
Yeah, I mean that would be the best. Is if you could take every mainstream media source, let's say, which is, I mean, so we're not like, I'm kind of just getting back to where we are today, right? But we have a broad spectrum of agencies from the Daily Wire all to whatever the most leftist site is. I'm sure there's way more than CNN. You have this broad spectrum. You can take all of those, feed all the articles about whatever into an AI model, and say like, where is there agreement here? And like that's the best that you have is knowing, okay, you have these broad spectrum of people all agreed at least on this part of the thing, but that doesn't really help like what the actual truth was.
Yeah.
So you're still like, I don't know.
There's so much news.
That's the problem.
I think there's still a game to like get the most control over, like if it was going to take these 5 sources, it's just like, okay, now I just need the most control over those 5 sources. Like, I don't think it really patches a hole. It just makes it a small. There's going to be something that it is in that space. There just will.
I don't know. I don't read a whole lot of news, but I feel like they're lying to me, to be honest, because I don't get my news from social media. Do you guys feel that way?
But how do you know you're not being lied to?
You never know.
How do you know that? How do you know that the WNDU station or wherever, or the Nashville station,
I don't watch the local
that should be talking about how the Preds beat up their water boy, but because they're a big donor to the station, that story never made it. And the story is just that the Preds water boy fell down the stairs carrying his luggage.
That story might be on social media, but not covered in like traditional news.
Yeah,
right.
And I think that's fine. I think, but that's not really news. That's someone finding a story that they found interesting.
But the point of news is to build trust into the things that are part of your community. And the Preds are part of your community. And so you should know that you don't want to go spend your money with the Preds because they beat their water boy up. But the news is telling you that the water boy just fell down the stairs
if you're
carrying
into that
luggage.
kind of thing, maybe you do want to spend your money.
You're slandering the Preds' credibility right now. They're going to slap a lawsuit on you real quick.
It's extremely important that right, if the Preds are a good agent or are a good franchise or not.
Is that a basketball team?
It's a hockey team.
Hockey.
Yeah, I mean, sure. So I guess you guys are a proponent for what we have, then. It's like the social media piece holds like the legacy pieces in, like, they hold them accountable. They're like,
I think, but my problem is we don't have.
But it's a non-optimal solution. It is that's like a Band-Aid fix. It had to be. We had to use social media to put a check and balance on the legacy.
But now we're in a situation where you're at the whim of the algorithm. Like, social media exists, yes, but is that story of the Preds water boy getting beaten up going to be shown to anybody in order to actually be viewed? Like, no, because that's against Twitter's guidelines, because the Preds are a big donor and they just like don't show anything that's like there's still an issue with like the trust level that you have with the thing that's supposed to be the check against the thing. So I think you just got to logically follow that all the way back to, you just don't get to interact with it unless you put your name on everything that you do. And like we need to take a step back and get rid of all of the games that are played with like control over information. All information needs to be freely accessible and identifiable.
It's kind of the crux of the issue, yeah.
It's free and it's valid.
That's good.
With that,
good 2 hour. Granted, I think that was a good hour. The first hour was
all over the place.
It was here. It was there.
I think we learned some good stuff. We learned carbon dating. We learned about Liberia. We learned about the Dalai Lama. We hypothesized about the Dalai Lama and Islam.
Insane. Yeah.
You guys never
Nuts.
answered like which side you would be. I'm like, is there a reluctance there? You don't have to answer, but
Yes, there's a
like, are you
reluctance. I'm
just
not part of the
nervous?
religion.
But just
All right.
based on,
Well, we did get one email. I won't read the whole thing from a nice listener named Kate. She or Katie, I guess it looks like is her
she's a
maybe
long-time listener.
common
Long time
name,
listener,
or
Katie.
I don't know. But anyway, she did leave us. Well, I'll read her nice comment about us. How about that? Because I think we
That's a
all
bad one.
could use a pat
Yeah,
on the
read the whole
back
thing.
sometimes. She said, "Fellas, considered addressing you as boys, but I think I think that's a moniker best left for use among yourselves." Okay, so she's not
this an old
comfortable
email?
yet calling us the boys.
Fellas.
Um, she said, "Another great episode." This is in reference to episode 10. "Another great episode. You dive deep into topics that are relevant, interesting, and critical. You challenge your listeners to consider multiple viewpoints and educate through both research-based info and evidence and empirical observation. I appreciate your efforts to present topics from a ground level, not assuming your listeners are already well read. Except for the Bitcoin discussion, I still don't get it. Levity is also appreciated." Very nice,
That was nice.
Katie, or Caddy, not sure
Pretty sure it's
what the
Katie.
correct pronunciation is. She said, "Sam suggested listeners email 3 pieces of information that weren't covered. Instead, I'll share some questions." So she sent 3. We won't get to the last 2 because those are longer, but we will come back to them on the next episode. You have my word, Katie. But the first one, I think it'll just be quick, around the horn. Simple question. I'm sure you've thought about it a lot. If you had the opportunity to travel to Mars, would you go? Why or why not? Matthew.
Oh, we're answering them now.
Yes. Quickly.
Would I go to Mars? Not. I wouldn't want to be the first one. No.
Will you be the 10,000th?
No.
The 1,000,000th?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Justin, are you going to Mars?
Put me down in that million area. I'm
Only
even
in the
that for me
million
is
area.
pushing it. If Earth is fine, I think I'm gonna be okay. I'll be okay on Earth.
Is this wait? Are we just going to Mars or living there?
It just says travel to Mars. It doesn't say you have to stay.
Okay.
Probably
Yeah.
come back, but that's gonna take some years, Matt.
That's true. Unless we get like hyperbaric like sleeping chambers where you just sleep the whole way, I could do that.
I'm gonna say no.
Good,
If Earth
good
is
nap.
fine, no, I'm not going to Mars.
All right. Justin says no. Sam, going to Mars? You could start up your own news organization when you land.
I was gonna say, in light of our conversation, I would go on the sole condition that everything going on Mars was up to the people on Mars, and it was an opportunity to rebuild all systems from the ground up. I would go under that condition.
He's starting with a commune from the very beginning, and nothing more than that. The whole time.
So
Pure
there's no
democracy.
connection back to Earth once you land.
It could be, but it's up to like you're doing things differently. Like if it was the understanding that we're going to try and address each one of these and handle them in whatever way, like go through each one of these questions that we have on here. Ideally, how would news operate? And then that's how we do it on Mars.
Like the
Awesome.
founding fathers.
It's a whole planet. Like you're going to founding father a new side of Earth, but you're not going to do it for a whole planet.
Right. So you don't want Mars to just be a 51st.
Absolutely not. Anybody who goes to Mars, if you're committing to going to Mars, that's it. You're now like there's no looking back. I think if you are going to Mars, you don't get to come back.
Right.
Penal colony. I like it.
It's Australia.
And we should start with our prisoners.
Send our prisoners to Mars.
Which is why I
Okay.
said that I want to be a criminal potentially if it means I get to go to Mars.
Full circle.
This podcast
Free
always
ride
ties
to
itself
Mars.
together. It's amazing.
Yep. I don't think that I'll be traveling, Katie, but curious what you're
Why not?
thinking. Well, I feel like you know, I like my way of life. I don't think that going back to kind of like a world where you're restarting everything would be that fun. I've grown up. I would need to be born there. You know, I'm living on champagne and caviar now, and I don't need to go back and live on, I don't even know, sand. What would you eat?
Sardine.
Rock?
Probably
Um,
would eat sand.
dirt.
Yeah,
But if I was born
you would
there,
learn to like
Haven't you
it. It's
seen The
like
Martian
cooking.
with Matt Damon? Grows his own stuff.
not in a long time.
That's a feel
Well,
good
I was
movie.
thinking that it would be kind of interesting if like someone like had a baby and put the baby right onto the ship up to Mars and then it lived there. And
Maybe
then we
that's
made
how
a
we should
TV show
colonize
about
it.
it, and then we all watched the TV show of the kid on Mars growing up, and we watched it here on
This
Earth.
sounds like Planet of the Apes or
Sounds
something.
ethical.
Or
Be awesome. All right. Well, thanks, Katie, for writing in. Thanks for listening to episode number 11. It was a good one. It was a wild one. Double digit. Well, we already were at double digits. Now you need to use your feet to count how many episodes we've had. So that's pretty cool. Well on our way to 25 for the year, which is our goal. Maybe it was 20. We'll try 25. All right. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. A little rocky here and there, kind of all over the place. But, eventually we kind of got to an interesting topic here on how we would reinvent news and journalism. Hopefully you had some ideas along the way. We're not going to have all the answers on all these topics, but we're going to try to do something productive with our time and get to some sort of resolution. So we'll maybe come back to this one day. Who knows? I'm sure it'll tie in with a lot of our other topics in the future. If you had any thoughts or ideas, send us an email. Symposium574@gmail.com is where you can get us. And with that, I think Sam is going to be headed out for, when's your retreat, Sam? Is that coming up, or are we going to have another episode before then?
we might have another episode before then.
Okay. For a second, I thought that it's a silence retreat you were going on, so I thought you were already taking your vow of silence by not answering my question. Um, maybe we'll try to get one more in and we can really dive into what you're about to partake in, because I'm sure you'll have a lot to say afterwards. Maybe we can send you off
Maybe
with
not.
some questions to reflect on.
We'll just let Sam have
So
a
that
whole
could be
solo,
interesting.
a full solo
if
podcast.
That's a
before.
great idea,
So you can
actually.
just talk, so you get it all out of your system.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Maybe I talk too much now, but when I come back, I don't know. Might be the opposite problem. I'm not talking at all.
All right. Well, we'll try to squeeze one in maybe in 2 weeks or so. But with that, thanks for listening, and we will see you all next time.
See ya.
We've been talking since the 5th grade, and somehow we've got more to say. Beat kicks in faster rhythm. Inflation's high, the game's too steep. Stream wars rage while we lose sleep. Big tech's wild, the Fed's a mess, but let's start a party, I guess. Symposium, where tangents thrive. Old friends talking, the takes collide. Symposium, no wrong or right, just good conversation deep into the night. Yeah, we're still talking.